Well, I'm not sure where it goes, but it goes somewhere, right? Hello everybody, the Bikepacking Dad here. I've just jumped in the car. I'm off to go and meet Markus Stitz. He's giving a talk in the Scottish borders. I purchased a ticket a couple of days ago and I thought, you know what? I'm going to drop him a message on Instagram and see if we can get together for a coffee before the show. So, he kindly got back to me, so Markus, if you're watching this, thank you. We're going to head down a little bit early just now, get to the Borders College campus, and we're going to go meet him, ask him a few questions and see what he's got to say. So, let's do it. Okay, I've arrived. The car park's empty. The show doesn't start till, what, 7:30, and it's not quite 6 o'clock yet. For those who are into bikepacking and ultra-distance cycling, he doesn't need an introduction. But for those who don't know him, Markus Stitz, from September 2015 to August 2016, rode his bike around the world. And it wasn't just any bike, it was a single speed bike. So just over 34,000 kilometers through 26 countries. So it's a hell of an achievement on any bike, to be honest, but never mind a single speed bike. Personally, I'm not going to ask him a million questions about his round the world trip. As much as I could spend probably 3 or 4 hours asking him stuff, I've got a few questions I'll ask on some different topics. His round the world trip has been covered extensively. I will put links to those reviews and interviews, and also to Markus's websites down below, so go and have a little look. He's also on Instagram and YouTube, so feel free, head across, subscribe, hit the follow button, do all that stuff. But for now, I'm going to head inside and see if I can find him. Let's do it. I did ask somebody where I should be going when I came in. It was their second day working here, so they didn't have a clue. So I have followed some signs. This is the place. Let me show you what's going on inside. Not much. I'm going to message Markus on Instagram and see if I can find out where he is. Okay everybody, we've got the man himself right here. This is Markus. I've already introduced him. He's kindly come in, an hour and a half early. We need to unload his car, so I'm not going to keep him too long. But I've got some questions for him, so we're going to get stuck straight into them pretty much. So yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Okay, so question number 1. Loads of people will have asked you why you decided to take a single speed bike around the world. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person.
Yeah.
But what was the motivation behind riding around the world in the first place? What made you go, do you know, I'm going to get on my bike and I'm going to leave my friends and family and I'm going to cycle around the world?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think taking a year off, kind of like just to reset myself a little bit and kind of know where I'm going next in my life. And being on a bike is a great opportunity to do that, because you're physically active, but you've also got long stretches where you've got limited disposable time to think about things. Yeah. And I guess doing it on the single speed kind of goes in there. It was a bit of like, you know, I wanted to have a challenge. I just like there's plenty of people cycling around the world, although plenty of them you'll never possibly hear about at all. A bit of a challenge, and taking the single speed made it just so much more simple. And yeah, you don't really need to think about too much about the bike. You just ride your bike day in, day out. It's a fairly simple setup, and yeah, mechanically nothing can really go wrong. So yeah, that was the reason behind it.
That sounds like famous last words. Mechanically nothing can go wrong.
Yeah, no,
that would give me the fear, but no,
nothing really happened, to be honest with you.
Okay, perfect. And I know when I go on my trips, I take quite a lot of stuff with me. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely getting better at packing it down, but there's just, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. 5 must-have items that always go in your kit bag whenever you're going. It doesn't matter if it's an overnight trip or if you're going away for a month or you're going away for a year.
Yeah. So I think tools, or like essential tools that you need to fix your bike, I think are important just for peace of mind, because if you're in the middle of nowhere and something breaks, pump, multi-tool, spare tube, tire levers, what else? The other bit which I always take is my Opinel knife. It's a little foldable knife, and that comes in handy if you need to feed yourself. You can just buy some bread or rolls and whatever, slice some cheese. So that's a spork is super handy as well, because if you want to eat some yogurt or stuff like this. So this is all about fixing bikes and eating. And I guess the other 2 bits which are important, like something to keep warm, a puffer jacket. Yeah. Even if it's in the middle of summer, you never know what's going to happen. So that's a bit of a and a basic first aid kit would be my recommendation as well. It's about, you know, it's possibly, except the knife and the Opinel knife and the spork. And the puffer jacket, you possibly don't want to use the tools, neither the first aid kit, but if you have it with you, and when you need it, you'll be appreciated you have it.
No, that's a great shout. I've got a friend who will watch this, so Sonny, he's been on at me to get a spork, because I've still got like a small cutlery set that'll kind of push it. Yeah, he says you should just get a spork, so a spork will get added to the list. Next question. I live in Scotland. We both live in Scotland.
Yeah.
The weather can be unpredictable. Winter, summer, spring, it doesn't really matter. So what are some of the harshest conditions that you've cycled and camped in?
I would say during the Silkwood mountain race in Kyrgyzstan, it's about a 50-degree temperature difference, so it's about -10 at night, and 40 degrees during the day, and both at by its own is quite challenging already. Cycling at 40 degrees is doable, but not advisable. But having that massive contrast of it's 50 degree temperature difference, I think it's a bit unthinkable in Scotland, because you'll never experience it over here. That was pretty tough. Like, even if you're super fit and you're well trained and you eat properly, that will break you at some stage. So
Like, I know how much the heat affects me, and we don't get too much heat in Scotland, so 40 degrees would probably be.
And it's also quite difficult for kit choice, because
I was just going to say, what do you pack?
With full winter kit, and I mean, it's, riding in summer conditions, you can go pretty light, but then if you have those temperatures at night, you need some proper equipment. So during the day you feel like you're carrying way too much. And at night, when it gets cold, you feel like you don't have enough.
The next question is going to be on safety issues, because I have a lot of friends who they say, are you not worried being out there in the middle of nowhere, and what if somebody steals your bike? And I think we're so used to seeing so much negative things on the news, on the radio, and reading these things, but in my very small, like, personal experience, I found most people are pretty friendly, and I've not had any issues, touch wood, where I've had any kit go missing or anybody's given me a hard time. Most people are really accommodating and helpful. Would you say that's fairly true? Or?
Yeah, totally. I think, essentially speaking, the world's a good place. And especially, I think you have to distinguish between the world you see in the news, and like what I would call the real world, and I think they're very different. Of course, you can be unlucky, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But out of about 20 years of cycle touring / bikepacking experience, I never had a situation that was dangerous. It was uncomfortable at times if you're in different cultures, and you possibly have to kind of accept different ways of doing things. And the other thing I also think as well, like, nature is a safe place, especially in Scotland. There's no dangerous animals here. Like, I think it is much safer to pitch your tent somewhere in the countryside than walking around in the town.
No, I agree.
Statistically speaking, although I'm also not saying that walking around in the town is unsafe, but I think, like, I do understand it's quite difficult if you've never done it beforehand. I think there's a certain amount of fear possibly involved in that. But I think as soon as that will evaporate pretty quickly.
No, I think it's an apprehension. I think, well, for me, it was an apprehension more than a fear. Just because you've got to rely on yourself as well. You are self-sufficient.
And you learn to trust yourself as well. Because I think in the end of the day, if you do, especially if you ride off quit, you need to be comfortable in your own skin. You need to be comfortable with your own actions. You need to make good decisions. But you can only do that if this is stuff you can learn, and in order to learn it, you need to do it. So I think, just get out there. It's my advice. It's a good place out there.
Obviously, I do most of my trips in southern Scotland, the borders, East Midlothian, all these kind of places. So not too far away, really, because I kind of just do local overnighters because of family issues. So I do have plans to go further afield, though. So keep an eye out. But I wanted to ask you one big question, because next year I'm going to have a little bit more free time. Where is one place you think I should go and pitch my tent on a bikepacking trip? One place in Scotland where I should go. It doesn't matter if it's as far up north or west or wherever, but where should I go? Where should I put the tent up?
So I think I'm gonna choose the place where I've been multiple times and which has inspired me, and it actually has a lot of history connected to it. It's called the Monaghan Pass. It's in the Southern Cairngorms National Park, and it's to my knowledge the highest pass you can cycle in Scotland on off-road. It's not tarmacked. It's right next to the highest off-road on-road pass as well, which is if you head up the hill, I'm not sure what the official name is, but basically where the Glen Ski Center is.
Okay.
So it's right next to it. And I would recommend doing it on a good day, because if you're up there, the views are absolutely stunning.
Okay.
And it's also I think for me it's a pretty special place, because it's quite tough to get to. So it's a big steep hill to ride up, and it's also quite a technical downhill to go down on the other side. But if you get a good day, like, the views from there are absolutely breathtaking. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's added to the list. Trying to get a good day in Scotland's not always the easiest thing, but we'll see what we can do.
yeah.
So obviously, was it last year sometime or the start of this year you released Bikepacking Scotland? A great book. If you've not checked it out, I'll do all the links in the description and things like that. But what could somebody who is even an experienced bikepacker or fairly new to it like myself, what could they take away from a book like that?
I guess, so I think what I wanted is a guidebook that gives you information you will possibly find elsewhere, but you will spend a lot of time researching it yourself.
Okay.
The books, it will give you the essential information you need for navigation, etc., places to sleep, places to eat. And they're all based on personal recommendations, so I'm a big fan of researching everything myself. So pretty much all the places which are mentioned in the book, I've been there and I've tried the food and I tried to overnight there, except just a few exceptions which were from other people. But I think what you'll find in the route descriptions is a really, I think, like, little facts about history, about the places that will enable you to experience those routes in a much I think for me personally in a much better way. For me, like, cycling is a means of getting from A to B, but also a means of experiencing places and meeting other people, and I think this is, like, if you look at the book, that's what it is about. And yeah, kind of all nicely compacted, propped up with some nice pictures as well, because I think it's essential. It's really important to have pictures as well, so you can
definitely, yeah.
You can kind of make a informed decision before you head off whether that's where you would like to cycle or not. So yeah, I think in a nutshell that's what the book is about.
Good. And are we planning on a quadrilogy of books? Are we going to tick off England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland? Is it going to be that kind of thing, or is that kind of
so there is
secret?
actually, like, Emma Kingston has written Wales and England.
Yep.
And the three books are in a way quite similar to each other, although my routes are different from what Emma has done for England and Wales.
Yep.
So Emma's routes are all a certain length, whereas I think for a country like Scotland, which is at times sparsely populated, at times like the Central Belt, or even some bits in the borders, you've got quite a few people in certain places. So what I try to do is to have the big country aspirational stuff, those very long, very remote roads, but also smaller routes in the Central Belt, close to where I live in Edinburgh, and just to have a really nice breadth of things. And it's also, I think the other difference is Emma's books are mainly aimed at mountain bikers, whereas I try to have a nice spread between mountain biking, gravel biking, and road cycling / touring.
Yeah, good. We're blessed around here with some of the gravel we've got.
Yeah.
Some of it is a bit chunky, and I would rather have a mountain bike, but
yeah,
you'd be surprised what you can get over.
Yeah, it's British gravel.
Yeah, British gravel. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. We're starting to wrap it up. We're going to have a walk around the block and pick up Marcus's car so we can get all of his stuff out.
Pretend to be on handlebars.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously I've come along this evening to hear you do a talk.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it's about and what are the locations you've got left to go to?
Yeah, so the talk's about, this is a bit of a whistle stop to through my life, and in a nutshell, what I see cycling as kind of as an extension of my freedom, and it's just talking about the various trips I had, like the bigger trips, and how they kind of fit in. I grew up in East Germany, so when I was 10 years old, the wall came down, and I think that was such a significant event for me as a child that ever since then I had this urge to explore and to go out to places.
Yeah.
So, and that's what the talk is about. And also, I think it's important to make the connection to what's available closer to home, because I think the the big adventures, while they're very important for me, at the other hand, there's also the small adventures, and I think they are much more accessible
for people
so
like me.
Talking about those as well. And it's also the reason why I've written Bikepacking Scotland and Great British Gravel Rides, to give people a manual to have those small adventures as well.
Good. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of going to lead me on to my final question. Obviously, not everyone can kind of take a year aside. As much as I would love to take a year aside and go away for a year just with the kids and things like that, I can't. So what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe never been bikepacking before? They maybe want to give it a go for the first time, do something local, something like that, because a lot of social media and things that you see, it's all ultra distance, and you know, you've got yourself and Mark Beaumont and you know, all these people, and it's great to see such massive adventures. But for kind of Joe Public, I'll call it, people like myself, how would you kind of say, this is how you get into it, this is what you need to do?
I think the best, like a more universal bit of advice is just do it. I mean, if you have a bike and you have a sleeping bag or whatever, what can double up as a sleeping bag, mattress and a tent, just pack it in some sort of bag, strap it to your handlebars and give it a go. Of course, like the kind of more specialized bikepacking equipment will make it much easier.
Definitely.
But if you just want to give it a go, I think pack your bike right out of town. Don't go too far. Don't put yourself under the pressure having to kind of go for miles and miles and miles and then figure out it's possibly not for you. Although I'm yet to find any person who said it's not for them once they've tried it once. So go local and possibly go 2 nights, because I think the first night you possibly learn things that you can then apply on the second night, and then, you know, I think this learning process of people are always asking me what's the kind of experience or what can you share, and this is I often think the best things to learn is the stuff you experience yourself. You very quickly find out what rocks your boat and what doesn't rock your boat, and that's very different from one person to another one. So yeah, just try and plan a little bit if you need to, but don't use the planning as an excuse for not doing stuff. Don't let the planning be longer than the adventure. I think the adventure should always be longer than the planning.
Well, I don't think it could have been summed up much better than that, so I'm going to leave it there. But cheers very much for coming in early.
Thanks.
I will chum you to your car now, because the least I can do is help you unload it.
Thank you very much.
Right, thanks again. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye bye.